I talked to you guys too soon, I would have probably been off for a lot longer, but a couple things happened. I mean, one, I just had this date, this big date I was setting up, and it was a week and a couple days after my daughter died, and it was when all the, hopefully you'll be able to hear me, and it's when all of my family left, everybody pretty much left, and my, still haven't been alone much. Family and friends are coming by. I'm wondering, like, at what point do I need to just ask to be alone and meditate? I decided not to get help right away. I've got some shit to get done. We'll see how I do. I've been thinking of going to California. I mentioned in a video, but I don't think anybody caught it, but just going back to California, working. A lot of family there, and it was an exciting idea with my daughter. By the way, how do people learn her name, you know? I mean, I have a song I'm going to write. I'm just going to put her name. It's, you know, why not now? But I don't remember saying that. It's funny. I'm not as cogent as I have been in the past. So certain things that normally I just might seem casual. I remember, oh, I said that. Oh, I put a little bit of this information out. Now I've mentioned my daughter's name and don't remember. I only had a couple of videos. Where did I do that? In comments? But anyway, yeah, her name was Juniper. Called her June, and anyway, so it was really early. I got some stuff in my regular life done again today, but then I watched a video somebody did, an old 60s or 70s song, Ice Cream Castles or something, and there was pictures of June in there from my video, and I had a big old cry. Yeah. You know, service can mean a lot of things. I'm not saying I'm going to suddenly have the energy of Mother Teresa, like, wow, I'll become a magical power, because I'm just realizing that, you know, I put a lot of support and energy into taking care of my kids, and, you know, I have at least that. And I have pretty modest tastes compared to my earning potential if I try, so I should be able to start funds, and I'm going to buy some school supplies and take them over for my teacher. There's a bunch of parents that don't get their shit together or can't, you know, buy $1 notebook and some pencils and stuff. So little things, big things. I'm not saying I'm suddenly Mother Teresa. I don't have that kind of egotism. It might seem like I do, but I'm actually a lot more practical and humble when it comes to real things. And it's not just ideas on the internet and stuff. I have a pretty even temperament, I think. Yeah, so I'm not talking about the details of how she died, because we don't know. This kind of thing, they do autopsies, but I'll tell you why we don't know. I mean, her sister woke up early, tends to wake up early, and found her in distress. I tried to revive her, and she never was revived. You know, I have some more information, but I just don't know. We're waiting for all the autopsies and reports to see what was going on, so... And like I say, you know, I might not want to share it. I mean, this much has only been shared. You know, thank you for the support, but I don't really, I don't know, I don't want to be rude. It makes me feel good about people that they want to support me, but I don't know, maybe I have something blocking down in my heart. It's like it doesn't make it that far down. It's just like sunburn lotion. I'm not saying it doesn't help, but it doesn't soak in too deep for me. And, you know, offers of support, also same thing. I really love them, but I've been getting a lot of support from friends and family, RL, and at a certain point it's exhausting in itself. I mean, I needed it to stay stable, but you have to put energy in receiving energy. You know what I mean? It's like there's power in the radio waves, but you can't power your radio with them. You got to put power into your radio and amplify the radio waves to get them, so you got to keep your own amp on in order to listen. Listening takes energy. Then you have to hear those things. It's worth the energy, but you know, you might run out of energy anyway. I don't think I'm running out of energy, but it's a weird state of mind, I'll tell you. I would say many of the people on the pro-George Zimmerman side of the Zimmerman argument have sent me private messages of condolence, and I love the public conversation, so I'm a little confused about this, but in a sense I like a public video. Somebody would do that, but then again, you know, it could be I don't know, it could be too public, something that should be private, but whatever. I appreciate the PMs. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not pre-classifying. Everybody's honest expression is good, and I'm finding out what they mean, but that's one that I appreciate. I think I winnowed my the rhetorical adversaries in the George Zimmerman to people of some sort of standards, and I think that supports it. And I wasn't particularly surprised at people that said, "Hey, we argued about George Zimmerman, but that's just something we're arguing about on the internet compared to what you're going through." And I appreciate that. Of course it is, but I appreciate that people actually realize that, because to me, I'm always, as a regular or heavy internet user myself, both putting stuff up and reading and researching and everything, I'm always constantly amazed by how people live in this. I mean, I feel I keep myself rooted in the real world, and I have an attachment. A tip of my iceberg goes into the internet, and it might seem like it's there all the time, but most of me is outside the internet all the time. Even when I'm on the internet, the part outside, is solid. I'm based. I don't warp into cyberspace and forget my head. A lot of the things I talk about, I'm probably also talking about, or at least have, first in real life. But so my sort of idea, and sometimes I feel like it's good if people can make close friends online and all that, and people might even be rural out in the woods, and it's literally a way for them to make a connection when all the humans are far away from them. But I also think there's an honor to my attitude, which has been sort of collegial, how's that pronounced? Taking an idea of colleagues. Like, we are particular kinds of acquaintances that respect each other, and in a sense, we respect each other in ways that friends can't. Like, there's no need for a white lie and total honesty, because it's hard to do that with all your friends. I mean, people have a super close friend they feel like they can do that with and say, "Hey, you were an asshole," or whatever, and get over it. But let's face it, our rings of friendship go out to the point where someone like me that always thinks brutal honesty, even with a stranger, is the most honorable thing to do, both to yourself and honoring the person you're being honest with. And just people don't think that way right now. So on the other hand, there's a lack of intimacy in being a colleague. And yet, a lot of people have acted in a very, sympathetic way appropriate to that vision. So people that argue with me and people that agree with me, and all the, if there's any such thing, and all the, all the in-betweens. A few people, I suppose over the years people will use it, because I'm probably going to keep bringing it up, because it's totally a part of it reverse engineers my life into the meaning of my life means getting here, how I got here, what helps me to handle being here, how can I preserve her memory, and she's a part of mine now, and all sorts of things like this. So, that given that, I'm sure people will criticize, but I actually don't mind that. I sort of get a power off of it. Sometimes I see something that's like, yeah, because I've had some people that I could see were, that wanted to talk to me about the heavier feelings, and I'm like, please unload these on me. I need to take them. Part of my mission, like the first step of the service is, basically like this. My sister, she was like, "I'm so sorry, and I'm sorry I'm saying sorry," and it's so cliche, and of course everybody says I'm sorry, and I'm sorry I'm saying sorry, but I had to say something. The poor dear, it was like the very day we found out, I think, and she was just so distraught by it, and I had been sobbing since then, angry sobbing, sad sobbing, everything, and it was like, that was the first time I'm like, holy shit, it'll be okay. I had to tell her, and wanted to tell her, and that was actually one of the most, what I mean? Like, this is sort of why some of the condolences I really appreciate, and it is like a salve or a shoulder rub. It could be something quite good, but it's also, it doesn't get in so deep. The deepest part is when I'm struck to return this energy. You give me enough energy that it fires up my motivational furnace of energy, and then I have energy to give, and you've really given me energy. That furnace warms my own heart, right? The funny thing to me in the peculiar way is that, yeah, the August 2 thing, I had figured out pretty early kind of the gist of it, and I was going to focus more on the spiritual, just because I thought that was full of metaphor and a better way to communicate. But now I actually need this perspective to survive. And I've created this sphere thinking that I'm very scientific and analytic, so I had a lot of liberties in creating it. It's almost like a science fiction fantasy tale of how the world might work, and metaphors I like to use because they work for me. And now I need that to survive, and it's like I can't even worry about the woo-woo stuff. Or, like, for example, I've always had this notion that, and it got reaffirmed a little bit with the idea behind Nietzsche's reoccurrence, that we relive our lives, but more in this quantum way. Like, you know, there's this some religion or spiritual thing I heard about when I was a kid. I like this idea that when you die, you go back 1 second per second, real time. You know, you live 100 years, and it takes 100 years to go back, and you remember your life backwards. And as a mental exercise, we used to, when you're falling asleep, try to remember what you did that day backwards. And so it's like your life rewinds, and then you get to live your life again, right? And the dice are rolled again, and your decisions are different again, and maybe there's grooves worn. Maybe, you know, 9 out of 10 lives you make a certain decision in a certain situation, and but you can drive out of the ruts and stuff. But it's almost like knowing the future. You can't know the future, but there's ruts in the road that drive you along and can help determine your way, unless you specifically get out of them. And so these kinds of ideas are really comforting, and they're a part of that, and yet they are way beyond any. I have a psychological explanation for them, because these are things that help us understand things that are too complicated for us to understand. That's the psychological domain explanation. But the physical reality, like I can use quantum mechanics to define to the possibility of you know, living your life twice and getting to change some of the decisions. But there is no hint of why to believe that, except for this spiritual thing of, as I use my spiritual analysis, it was the free reign one. It's given free reign. Now, it doesn't have free reign now that it's in the center, and in a sense it never did, because I have these other ways of analyzing and checking. And I have certain requirements on it, like my spirituality can only feel enlightened and positive. It can't be destructive, or it can't take glory in destruction or harming anything. And if it did, because like in this situation, you know, some of these, what you might call magical feelings, are you know, they're the ones that become destructive, you know. And so I do have checks and balances and advisement still from being kind of super analytical, right? And I'm analytical about my spirituality, and I consider it metaphor, so I don't consider myself committed to like a physical idea that we literally live our lives backwards after we die. But I think there's a metaphorical truth similar to with Nietzsche's in eternal recurrence. Just the idea of every decision you make, you're going to remake. But in his case, it was like you relive it exactly the same, and there's an emotional impact of thinking of that way and making you more careful about your life, potentially. And he toyed with the notion of judging it that way, not just on a traditional truth value, but in terms of its a benefit value, its practical value, its result on you. And that's how metaphors work. It doesn't have to be literal. It's more like, how does this map to the reality you're experiencing? And it's not the only metaphor, and so you don't have to take it literally. And yet, partly, it's a cop-out, because I'm thinking that is true. And there's a parallel universe. I can relive my life, and the more I think about this, the more I can, when I relive my life, make some incidental decision or discovery that would avoid this. Again, you know, I can't be specific until I myself know the whole story. But you know, I'm not really enjoying the idea of doing this too early, and like anybody helping me work through this emotionally per se, in the actual grieving process that's going on. You know, that's the immediate. I am interested in sharing the vision I get from it, and there's a later emotional impact on me to to interact with people and talk about that. I'm very interested in the future in that sense. I mean, I was sitting at my computer ready just to close down all my hobbies. Nothing I enjoy do I like as much as doing the things I didn't enjoy for my daughter. So why enjoy anything, you know? But I was sitting there doing that, and it was like hearing my daughter's voice. She's just like, "Dad, don't do that, it's silly," you know? And so, and I've always had a lot of people around, and now it's just me and 4 pets because my older daughter is also about to move out, and so she's moved out. We changed her plans, like I said, but you know, I'm probably going to follow her to California in a little while. But yeah, you know, this is an activity or hobby that probably works well with that. But I don't know. I'm kind of an ironic person, and sometimes if I'm in a situation that's appropriate for something, I won't do it. And if I'm in a situation that's inappropriate for it, somehow I'll figure out that it needs to be done. No way to do it. Anyway. So, and the fact is, I am talking about it now, so I am expressing myself on it when I'm still quite confused and having mood swings. I snapped at a commenter just because his name started with the same letter of a commenter. I'd got sending me PMs that I decided to block, and you know, I'm unstable. I apologize in advance. Yeah. When I get my head together, I'm still going to go on with all my ideas and projects even harder, like the public dialogue server. I think I'm just going to make that happen with my own resources, and the way you guys will be able to help is using it. Still planning to make it communal. I mean, I'll have a starting constitution and a process for changing it and stuff. I'm starting to feel okay about, you know, I've been getting back on the internet, even look at some Zimmerman stuff. It's pretty boring to me. I think I figured that problem out now, so probably not going to get back into that, but you know, I'll probably still follow other people's banter on it. But in other things, researching other things, and I'm playing a lot of music because it's very meditative for me. I always do in a crisis, and this is the biggest crisis I've ever lived through, and that's saying something, I think. Well, I guess that's it. I don't know. I just feel like doing an update thing. Might not have much to say. I mean, I have a lot of internal, non-verbalizable thoughts going on. I like this also as a record, something I might look back and see, well, what did I muster for my channel during that period? Because pretty confused, pretty scattered inside here. I muster a lot of, on the surface, I guess, that's why I was surprised that I was like sobbing on the plane and in the airport, because, you know, I don't want to make other people depressed or concerned, and, you know, usually if I'm having something that's sad, it's not like there's not this uncontrollable. I've never experienced this. I mean, when my grandmother had a stroke, I started crying uncontrollably. That's the only time, but that just like, you know, just surprise you out of the blue, like, oh wait, I'm crying, and I saw a flower and now I'm crying. But I'm thankful that I'm not blocked up crying wise, because that's hard. That's really hard to take. And sometimes you cry and it becomes like a cry of joy, just how beautiful she was or something, and there's a sadness that is less angry and painful. So I think it's good to cry, but still. And I'm at the point, can you see, I'm aging, like I've got wrinkles and stuff just because, you know, you cry 3 or 4 hours every day. It's affecting my body. I mean, I had my eyes look like they were bruised. The bags were so bad, you know. I'm like, what the heck happened? I what? I was just like, oh yeah. But, okay. Well, I'm having to get back to work here pretty soon, but I've been taking some vacation time and bereavement time and stuff. But I have to get back to that. I was going to do that a bit ago. But I went and paid my bills and caught up with some other things today, so I'm going to go tomorrow. And, yeah. Or was that yesterday? Maybe that was yesterday. I took care of that. Yeah, I gotta check if I have vacation time, but I should have a bunch built up. I never used it very much because I needed it, because I didn't have enough sick leave, family time for kids, so I had to save my vacation just in case. Kid will get sick 3 or 4 or 5, get a 5-day flu over here, and it's like, and the other one gets it in a different time, and then suddenly you've used up, you know, it's already twice your sick leave you can use for your kids as family time. That was the way I got screwed. It used to be I always worked for companies let you use your sick leave for family time, for your kids are sick, you know, family's sick, have to take care of them, that counted. And you just had to share your own sick leave with them that way. And then they made a law that you had to let people use some sick leave for that, but the law said you had it was a particular amount, and so then I got limited to that particular amount. Because I could go to work when I'm sick easier than I can ignore my kid when they're sick. That's impossible. I just have to go unpaid if it comes to that. So then you use vacation. Then I got in trouble because vacation's supposed to be pre-planned. And it's like, what? And I have a nice place that I work for, but still you get into this bureaucratic stuff. But whatever. That's a tangent. Anyway, that's part of the kind of problem I'd like to have now. But anyway. Yeah, I think I'm going to move back to California.